No, it's Talk Forest TV. We are back again with a live video. I know it's 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Or just before, but you know what? After last night and this weekend, especially with transfers, and we all know that 30th of June going to be the PSR deadline day now. It's going to be like another deadline day in the summer, but PSR wise, I mean, for Forest to actually finished that. I mean, it was last. What time was it? It must have been like 11 o'clock last night when um, this deal actually went through. But obviously, Forest bringing in Elliot Anderson like we did. I mean, it's a good deal. I think by the sounds of things, it's going to be a 30 million one from some sources that is going around. With it going up to 35 million. I mean, first can be making this sort of deal happen, especially trying to help Newcastle out. I mean, it makes you think in a good way, like, especially because we didn't really sign like Paul sells in summer in January, and especially bringing the loan signings of Reino and Ribeiro. I mean, we didn't really make too much signings. Tell me if I'm wrong about that, but obviously, especially with Elliot Anderson coming in, tell us what you think in chat. Is that a really good deal? And like I said in the title, is it crazy money paying that much for Elliot Anderson? I mean, it's interesting to say least that we have actually spent a lot of money, and I know the club must be really, really happy, especially if we're spending that much money on a player of Elliot Anderson Finney. I know a lot of Newcastle fans are happy that aren't happy that they sold him, because a lot of Newcastle fans were quite happy with him being at the club. I know that, and coming through. I mean, there ain't no shadow of that they probably weren't happy that they sold him like they did. Um, and for Forest, they're going to the last day of that transfer with PSR transfer deadline, and actually spending 30 million on a player. I mean, it just goes to show how much well that Raf came along. Who hit the like button on the video? Do join the TFTV Members Club? The links is in the chat. Do jump in the chat and tell us what you think about what you guys think to the signings and the signing last night, especially with Flats leaving as well. I mean, for Flats to leave the club as well, I mean, I thought he might have been one of them ones that we might have struggled to get rid of. But obviously Flats, he wanted to leave because obviously getting first team football, and he's not going to get that here, especially with Souls being at the club and with other numerous counters that could have been there. But I mean, it just does show that what the club are trying to do, and you know what, fair play on the club for doing that business. I mean, yeah, fair enough. We soon might need to get rid of a couple more players just to comply with PSR, especially for next year now. Unless if they hadn't done it, especially with Wall, and some of the younger players that not younger players, but some of the other players that might be deadwood or fringe players, to say least. Mark said Anderson has potential if he does well to say it's a goodbye. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can definitely tell it's one for the future, especially with Elliot being brought in, and it might be one that might be, it being around, especially with that front three, and it gives us that bit more options, especially having Anderson in, because obviously if we don't go with a striker up top, at least, and you do go with Philander up top, you've got that bit more depth on the wings now, because I've got Anderson. Anderson can play in that number 10 role as well. We've got the new German lad in as well, so we are starting to see that sort of depth coming in. I mean, it's really good to be fair. That Forest are doing some really good business, and yeah, I completely agree with you, Mark. That they are always, whenever you do win in a playoff, that much money, there will always be risk. And I completely agree with you on that. And I think that there's no point trying to hide behind it and think, yeah, spend this money, you need to hit ground money. I mean, I know we did that with Sandori last season, and that's completely just going to show that there always risk of players not adapting to the Premier League, and I completely agree with you on that, to be fair. I mean, I think that, especially with Forest, especially bringing in a young player like that, I mean, but I'm quite positive to it. I don't make this video too negative for Mark, because I think we're brought in a young player to build another good not sort of player, but I think he will be fine for that first team place, and he will be fine for pushing and trying to get Vinny. And like Mark said, we need to trust their business so far been good with Mangual and Nikati and getting keep off the butts. Yeah, definitely. I think what we are doing, I think we're learning from our mistakes now, and we are learning to build a better squad, and we are trying to go back to that way when we had Dave Murphy and Assie, where we are trying to go through younger players, and we are trying to build something now. I know that first 2 years we wanted to stay in the Premier League, but now we are starting to try and build, and I feel like that Forest are doing really good business in terms of getting players off the books that don't fit or that not really perform really well in terms of, I think, really tough with how we are doing business. And yeah, I completely agree with you, Mark, that we've got to trust the board now, and that we've got to see what they want to do now, because yeah, fair enough that we have been some really bad signings, but we got to trust them now that it is our third year in the Premier League. Yeah, we need to start to build a identity. We need to start to build something that can take us from where we are now to probably 2 years, 3 years, that we need to really push on and start to see these young players build and develop. I mean, it will be very interesting to say at least. That I think that without shadow that it will probably become a really big part. And you know what? I don't understand really not crazy with what I'm going to say, because I think we have got a really good squad, and I feel like especially bringing Anderson in, he can play in that number 10, especially when it reminds me of the Crystal Palace game last season when we 1-0 down, and we actually bought Rayner, and we actually went to like a 4-1-4-1 with Yates being that number forward, and we had 2 10s in Rayner and Gets right. And you know what? It'd be interesting to see how we go from this. Like, can we see Forest adapting to a new way of playing, especially with them two being the new 2 number 10s, having Elanga, Hudson-Dory on the wings, and after having someone else at number 4. I mean, it will give us that bit more of a different dynamic, especially we are at home against probably the not weaker sides, because all the games are tough in the Premier League, but it will give us a lot more different outlet to, if plan A not working, we could go plan B, or after that as a plan A, and if we have to change it to a plan B, we can stick another striker or top. We don't have to be quite defensive in terms of how we do set up now. So I can see us playing a different way of football and different way of doing it. And like you said, Mark, we might lose players in the future, so Anderson could help us adapt. Yeah, definitely. I do agree with that. At least we have got a player that I mean, not looking into future too much because I don't want to, but if something like this right does go, we have got a player already that could slot into that role really, really well. And it's nice to have that bit more competition into that number 10 because, especially if Gibbs White get injured, who can we play in that number 10 that could really, really benefit and actually get to that standard of what Gibbs White can get to because you know what I'm saying? Just because we never had that, we never have that option since we've been in the Premier League. Have changed that one, that number 10. I know we did with Jesse Lingard when it was there, but he was injured half of the time or doing TikToks. So, but it's quite nice that we have got someone else now that potentially, when you look at him, he can probably play up to this right and actually be that bit more flexible in terms of where he can play along that front line. So really, really tough. And there's a price on it. Every player, there's a price. So, I mean, what also makes me a lot more positive is that we got through that PSR without any of our best players really guess what? I mean, we don't know what's going on financially. We're all probably not financial experts, but to get through that without selling Rulio, Gibbs White, without losing any of them. I mean, it is great to see that we managed to sell players that they can't eat at Flash, Mangala, for more profit, and then we have got other players that could quite easily leave that we could get profit on as well. So I think there's a lot more positive, to say the least, that we have got quite a lot thingy. And I think going back to what we said earlier about trusting the board, I mean, they're doing the jobs at the minute. They're actually making sure that we are making profit and that we are trying to sustain that, selling our best players and building on it, because I think Elliot Anderson is a good buy. 30 million, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how that will go on, especially with this season. But, I mean, it gives us more options and different ways of playing now where we're not had that last 2 seasons because the players that we had, they might not been able to compete up to that level where we have been, especially with our strongest 11. I mean, our backcourt players have been quite poor, to a fair, this season, because like having Origi on and having Ribeiro, who's not featured hardly, Reina not featured hardly, and most of them not had that impact that we all thought when they came in. I mean, that's how I do see it all, personally. But hopefully that Forest can learn from these mistakes and these signings and actually focus on a model and focus on building something really, really positive. So it'd be interesting to say at least how we do actually go about it. And no worries, thank you for the compliment, Mark. I do appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, going forward, I mean, now we are sort of see like this way of how Forest are trying to build, and we are trying to build something. We've got to trust the process, and I'm sounding like AFTV, trusting the process, but it is a new way of Forest trying to go backwards in how we went in Championship, bringing in young players. But we've got to see it through now and be like, yeah, we're bringing these young players. Yeah, we've got to have this 3-4 year plan where we're seeing this progression. We are seeing that we are moving upwards and forwards with things, personally, and being like, yeah, we're making these signings now that could potentially build a squad van and actually having this 18 squad man where they can compete and get into the first team, and then having 2 or 3 players just outside it where if the next man standing, if these players get injured, starting 11, players can step in. That where we have missed this past 2 seasons, but I mean, hopefully we can adapt and build. So, tell us what you think in chat as per usual. Hit that like button. Do subscribe to the channel. While getting further closer to that 600. Do join us more for more Forest content. And actually, thank you for watching as per usual, guys. And goodbye.